Small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. Small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. In a bar. Seafood mama. With 10 fat chickens. And I ask you for one. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she muggle like a chow. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance and really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses. All you need, bright and shining. You must be, and show me the one. Love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girls, second the boys. Sunday, Monday, afternoon. We will spend our honeymoon. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. Join the singing. Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. All righty. Good night. It's elections night. We can't guarantee that we're going to be with you all night. No, we're just going to spend maybe about 30 minutes with you because I know you guys want to go back into the other major networks. Tom is also very busy doing his thing. And so here's what's happening. Tom, good night. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I'm doing great. How's everyone tonight? Good night, everyone.
Yep. Yep, certainly can't complain at all. Those of you who are in Guyana, good night and welcome to Straight Up. Those of you wherever you are, good night and welcome to Straight Up. It's elections night. Elections night indeed. Somebody saying Trump tech early lead. Well, you know, those of you who have gone to Gymkhana, you know exactly who takes the early lead. And so that's okay. Nothing to panic about. That's why we have this here. We're not going to. This is not a guessing game. We noticed Piri say, Mark, I have much respect for you, brother, but let's be real. Trump has won this. I don't know what Piri. Puru. Good night to Piri. Tom, take it over. Let's get straight down to business. What's happening here, sir? You've been watching.
It's election night. It's election night. And so in the United States, for our election nights, everyone has to remember the smaller precincts come in first. And so little towns, places off in the sticks with only a few voters coming in, maybe 200 voters, 300 voters, all of those go in first. It's the big cities like Philadelphia, Miami, the huge cities up and down the East Coast, throughout Atlanta, then even their suburbs where you have huge numbers of voters, where we've had today reports of 6-hour long lines, college students in line for 2-3 hours at places like Florida State, here in Florida, University of Central Florida. So there's what you're not going to see early on, the results that you think you're going to see by the end of the night. So by the end of the night, once all the big cities are in, and we're talking about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever you see now is going to look drastically different at like 2 in the morning. So that's what people need to know as far as what's going on right now.
That's why I say it's not a guessing game. The small precincts are the ones that are coming in, and it's showing what's happening. And if you notice, they're red states, they're blue states, and conservative, really conservative, and so forth and so on. But before we get into that, the who is it? The senator, Republican senator, is it, of Vermont? Actually, and correct me, walked into the voting booth and said, "Look, I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
I'm voting for Kamala Harris. What's going on there?
Yeah, well, you have what's going to be interesting to see is this. Okay, so usually the Republicans have an edge when it comes to same day voting, when it comes to in person voting. And when you look at some of the Republican leaning districts in places, everyone's thinking, well, it's mostly Republicans there. So, they're going to vote for Trump. But it looks like there's about a 17% swing uh, in Republican leaning districts around the country now towards Kamala Harris. So that's something that I can promise you has not been captured in any polling beforehand. None of the exit polls are even looking for that. Everyone's assuming that it's going to go the way it's always gone. But what you're seeing just with the reports out there and with and from what people are looking at in some of these Republican leaning districts, Trump is doing a little bit less as good as he did in the past in a lot of them. So that's showing there's some Republicans breaking. There are not Democrats breaking for Trump. That's the issue here, right? So Trump isn't pulling any Democrats in. If there's any change tonight, it's going to be because Republicans are going towards Kamala Harris, going towards the Democrats, along with independents. That's where this can change, and that's the part of the vote and the electorate that the polls aren't going to catch because no one can predict that. That's something that you're only going to know after the fact. So that's what we're going to be looking for tonight between now and late 1 o'clock in the morning is how have Republicans voted? Have they gone closer towards the Democrats or not? Number one, and how well were the Democrats, how well have they done in their get out the vote, their GOTV on the ground? Did they really get their people out in the big cities? That's the big question. That we're going to see. That's going to be late tonight.
It's going to be very, very late tonight. We guarantee you guys we're not going to be here that late with you because I know you have your favorite networks that you want to follow as well. Let me just right off the bat, let's not have any detractors, any sort of distraction here. We're not here for gaffing and silly chit chat. That's probably for some other stuff. But pay attention, guys. Pay attention. Don't be distracted. Now, Tom, what about the threats? We're hearing that hoax, bomb threats, and all these things. For example, DeKalb County out in Atlanta, there responds to multiple bomb threats. What's happening there, Tom?
Yeah, so there have been several bomb threats called into black polling districts in Georgia, some of the churches and other places where it looks like threats are coming in from Russian email accounts. And so the Russians are doing their thing. They're trying to affect our elections, and they know how to go after it. Apparently the Russians feel like Georgia is where they have to go, and they're going specifically after the black vote, and they continue to send in bomb threats over and over again. So these precincts were allowed to stay open later, but you got to remember, it's scary. If you want to vote and you're hearing there's bomb threats, this could influence. So that's what you see going on, and I can tell you this. If this was such a shoe-in for Donald Trump, the Russians wouldn't be calling in these bomb threats to black precincts in Georgia. I can promise you.
But it is pretty obvious that these hoax, these bomb threats are being called in predominantly African American or black communities across certain particular states. And this here is a big red flag. It's they're saying it's a Russian. Russian. Some people are saying Elon Musk may have something to do with that, along with the Russians. We don't know, but what we do know is that lots of bomb threats in predominantly African American stronghold across certain states, as you see what's happening there in DeKalb County. Tom, as you look at the numbers, though, anything to hold on to some sort of hope for in 2024 as what we saw in 2020?
Yeah, so right now, if you look close to like Georgia, for example, a lot of the Republican leaning districts that went for Trump last time around, he's not doing as well. On top of that, Kamala Harris is doing better in some of the districts where Biden won in Georgia. So that's a good thing right there. And then the other thing is North Carolina. The Kamala Harris campaign spent a bunch of time in North Carolina. They really on the ground. They're really pushing hard. If North Carolina goes for her, it's going to be a tough night for the Trump people. So, and that looks good, North Carolina. So that's the other place. Those are the two places I'd say for everyone to really pay attention to. is Georgia, North Carolina, and then of course Pennsylvania, and then Wisconsin. Those are the big four, and then you got Michigan. So those are all swing states. The bottom line is it looks like so far with the numbers coming in, Kamala Harris looks pretty good. She looks like she's doing a little bit better than last time. Trump is not doing as well. So it's looking good. Like I said before, it's going to come down to these big cities, and it's going to come down to that GOTV, the get out the vote, to see how that works. And but it looks good from what I can tell.
Michigan, thank you so much, Tom. Michigan, Kamala Harris seems to be doing quite well there in Michigan, one of those swing states. Trump is not doing as well as what he did back in 2020, and that's significant to even look at Michigan, the state of Michigan, and to have Kamala Harris doing so well. Any surprises there for you?
Well, and look, and here's the other one though, Iowa. So you've got Iowa with Kamala Harris doing well there too. So she's doing well in Michigan, doing well in Iowa. That's why I say pay attention to late night tonight, because if she's doing well in these places, it's saying that there are going to be some Republican voters breaking, like the voters coming in today. So same day voting, there is a possibility here that about 17 to 20% of that vote for the Republicans for Trump may be going for Kamala Harris. If that's the case, people are going to be shocked in the morning.
Shock indeed in the morning. We don't want any sort of heartbreaker. We notice there's a comment here from Ruina Cummings. Trump is doing well in Georgia. She is disappointed. Don't be disappointed, because do the breakdown for them in Georgia there.
Yeah, so Georgia, the big deal in Georgia is you've got these suburbs around Atlanta, and you have Atlanta itself. And I keep saying these numbers are going to be coming in late tonight. They just are. So that's going to be huge. These suburbs around Atlanta and Atlanta itself, that's going to be late. That's what people need to pay attention to. That's what it looks like the Harris campaign has put all their money into, as a ground game to really just blow up those numbers there. And that's the key. But those are going to be late night numbers.
Late night numbers indeed. Is it Mark Robinson lost his race?
Yeah.
Any surprise there at all that even the Republicans asked him to get the heck out of the race? He said no. That's in North Carolina. And so North Carolina has a new governor, right? And it's not the Republican governor. What's happening there, Tom?
Yeah, so that guy is gone. I think yesterday Trump was in town there, and that guy, that Mark Robinson guy, he's called the Black Nazi, the Black Hitler. This guy, he tried to join Trump at a rally yesterday in North Carolina, and Trump told him, "Nah, get out of here." So they try to actually get him off the ballot. That's how toxic the man is. He's got a huge controversy going on there with some online posts he made and some like sex websites and things. So yeah, he is horrible, but he is what Trump and MAGA are. Like, that's what they are. They're trying to hide him, but that's what they are at the end of the day. And that's what people, whether they realize it or not, that's what they're voting for. So he just happened to be lit up because of his controversy. But at the end of the day, man, most of these guys are like him.
Absolutely, because just imagine Trump is condemning someone like Mark Robinson, when Trump is worse than Mark Robinson. Anyways, he's out of the race. What's happening here in the Senate race? We noticed there's a 10 points difference in terms of the Republicans ahead for now. And the Democrats had a 1-seat majority there in the Senate, with Chuck Schumer being the Senate majority leader. How does that look based on what you're seeing the numbers?
Yeah, that's gonna be tight too, man. I'm actually looking at some other states. I'm looking at states like Maryland. The Democrats have to keep that. That's going to be a close one. But North Carolina, it's going to be tight, man. North Carolina is going to be the state people need to look at, not just for presidential, but down ballot as well. I'm looking at Georgia now, and 55% of the vote is in, and Trump is up by 300,000 votes. And like I say, most of Atlanta hasn't even been counted. Okay, almost none.
And especially the blue states. What we've observed is a lot of the red states have been counted and so forth, and those are little small pockets. Right. Of course, go to the conservative. But when you go to Gwinnett County and those other places, DeKalb and those other areas, that is heavily blue voters, heavily blue voters, and you're going to see that difference probably within another hour time
That's
or
right.
so. But
That's
Georgia
right.
is not. Georgia is not going to Trump. Certainly not going to Trump. And let's say to our operator is saying here, look, we don't need any distraction here tonight. Thank you so much, Lemon. We do not need any distraction. If you're going to comment, make sense, and argue and debate based on sense. And you're not going to, there will be no derogatory remarks thrown at anybody here. Thank you so much, Lemon, for that. Tom, as we continue here tonight, and let's welcome all of our listeners wherever you are,
Keep a
whomever
tight ship. Got to keep a tight ship, man. Tight ship.
definitely it's got to be very, very, very. So what's happening there in terms of the congressional race? Anything you've picked up? Any surprises there?
Not that I've seen, but for Maryland, like I say, the Maryland thing, yes, Kamala is projected to win the presidential race in Maryland, but that Senate seat is a big deal, okay, because the Democrats had it, and right now the former governor of Maryland, a Republican, he's trying to get that seat. So, he's going against the woman named Angela Also Brooks. So that's a tight race, and that's going to be an important one to watch. I think Delaware just elected the fourth ever Black American woman to the Senate, so that was a big deal in Delaware. That's another thing I've noticed as well. So Delaware had a great victory tonight, but the problem is right now, most of these big cities, man, it's going to take a long time for those votes to come in, a very long time, and especially with these bomb threats happening in Georgia. Look, I've seen reports where Trump has called the governor of Georgia over 10 times, and the governor will not talk to him. So it seems like the MAGA people are trying to get in on that state. The Russians are calling in the bomb threats. Georgia is a big deal tonight. People need to watch that. That's going to get crazy. I predict that one to be pretty crazy.
It is going to be crazy. The prediction is it's going to go way throughout the night, probably till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, or even stretch longer than that. It's going to be a long night indeed, Tom. I hope you guys have your coffee or your Coca-Cola, is in the case with me, and a cup of coffee. I'm ready to rock and roll all night, but it doesn't mean we're going to be doing this all night at all. Maybe at some point in time we'll be back around 4 o'clock in the morning, Tom, because the Guyanese, they are not. Imagine Guyanese back home. They are more interested in elections here than they have probably ever been about elections in Guyana. And it's good to see a lot of them are paying keen attention to that. But here is the main thing. Let's go to India, though, and then we'll get back to the race here. This is Kamala Harris, her mother, of course, her mother originally from India, her grandfather also from this particular Tamil Nadu village. And they were celebrating, they were praying in the temples and so forth. They were praying for Kamala Harris to win. You're not surprised at this at all, right? That even all the folks, majority of the folks in her village, her mother's village, are praying for her to win.
I mean, this is the beauty of America, right? Where here's the thing. So if I want to, or if any American wants to go to Guyana, we can go there, but we will always be an American in Guyana, right? And the same thing goes for a German person or a British person, or if someone from Guyana wants to go to Jamaica, it doesn't matter. You're never going to be a Jamaican. Now, you can be there all you want, but you won't be a Jamaican. The same thing goes if you go from Guyana to Great Britain. You will never be a Brit. You will always be someone from Guyana in Great Britain. Well, if you come to America, you become an American. And so we are the only place where you can come from anywhere in the world and come here and be one of us. And that is also reciprocated. So Kamala Harris is here. She's an American, but people in India recognize an Indian when they see one, right? And so, yes, they're proud of her. Yes, they're praying for her. And that's the beauty of America. And that's why I said, like, when I was on last night, it's so great, the immigrant community, because what the immigrant community brings to the United States is what we are as a country. We are a nation of immigrants, right? And that's the beauty of it. And that's why a guy like Donald Trump has to lose, because He is 100% against that. He doesn't believe in that. He wants a world where if you are not from America and you come here, you can't be an American. You will be a second class citizen permanently, or he kicks you out, that type of thing. And so that is not what we want. That's what we are voting against when we vote against him. And that's what's really on the ballot. And that's what this election is about. So anyone from Guyana who's on here in the comment section who's like, yeah, Trump, 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 you're talking against yourself, because he's a man who does not believe that you can come from Guyana to America and be an American. The way Trump sees it is, if you come to America from Guyana, you will always be a Guyanese. You will never be an American, because from his perspective, you will be poisoning our blood here. He said it word for word. So that's what amazes me, by the way, is when I see so many people who are either immigrants here or first generation, their parents were immigrants, and they support a guy like Trump. I just scratch my head and I wonder what's wrong with you. I'm an American and I can see what's going on here. Why can't you? Why can't you see that this man has no love for you? Why can't you see that this man would eradicate you off of this planet if he had the opportunity? It's shocking, but I really do believe at the end of the day, what we have is a situation where people view white skin, that Trump was bragging about, his pure white skin. They view it as pure power. And from people from other nations look at a guy like Trump and they love him and adore him, not because of who he is or what he stands for or what he believes, but because of his skin color, because they value the white skin themselves, even if they are not white. And so that's what I'm noticing from immigrants who do support Trump and people from Guyana who support Trump. I think what they're supporting is the white skin, and that says more about them than anything else.
Some of them, I'm not sure. I know some of them. I'm not even sure they walk across one of the airports, JFK or Miami or wherever. This is not knocking at them, and you are correct, Tom. Many of them don't understand, and this is not to insult them, but they just don't understand the man Trump. They're just peddling that. If you go deep into a debate with them about why is it that they believe Trump would win, or why would they want Trump to win, they just have absolutely no sort of proper response for that. So, Tom, this is what we're looking at. Pennsylvania, 19 of the votes all have to be taken there, 19 electoral. Georgia, 16. We're looking at 16 in Georgia, 16 in North Carolina, 15 Michigan is still close, in Nevada, 6 Wisconsin, again, very close. And we're hoping that Walz, coming from Minnesota, being the governor out there in Minnesota and connected to the folks out in Green Bay and other parts of Wisconsin and so forth and so on. What's your prediction here, sir?
It's going to be tough, but I think just looking at where the money has gone from the campaigns, I think Trump might get Nevada, right? I think he might, but I think Harris has got Pennsylvania and Georgia and Michigan, North Carolina. The people on the ground are saying that I'm hearing from that she's going to get it, so I'll go with her on that. And I'll go with her on Wisconsin. So I think out of all of these, I think she's going to lose Nevada, but I think she's going to win the rest.
All right. 55 minutes after 8 o'clock. It's a different time zone out there in Guyana. But the 7 presidential battle states, or the battlegrounds, we call them, 93 electoral votes. 93 electoral votes. So, thus far, based on the latest record we're getting in from Lemon, is that Democrats, of course, they need, as of now, 226, and the Republicans 230. And let me see, Democrats 44 and Republicans 40 as of now. What's happening? Because we know that New York is definitely ought to be a done deal for the Democrats. But what about Pennsylvania? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, see, that's going to come down to Philly, right? And there were huge lines out there in Philly. So a lot of young people, a lot of first-time voters. The Democrats really put a lot of money and a lot of ground game into Pennsylvania. So I'm pretty confident Kamala Harris is going to win Pennsylvania because of their ground game and just how much effort and time and resources they put into the state.
So again, any update? We're looking at Lemon and talking about some updates there from Georgia. Again, some folks are panicking. Don't panic, because those votes that you're seeing coming from those conservative, those red districts, red areas, and so those are counted faster than DeKalb or Gwinnett County and so forth. The heavily populated areas are not counted as quickly as those small pockets areas, the outskirts of Georgia. And just do not panic, guys. Tom, you want to talk to them?
Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line is this is going to be a late night thing. The problem that we're going to have is the Trump people and violence and stuff like that, because they're going to be like, hey, before he went to sleep, Trump was winning. He was winning. And all these people like Neville Seatow, he's like, he's going to think Trump was winning because he's going to go to sleep around 11 o'clock tonight or midnight, and he's thinking Trump won. And then he wakes up in the morning and it's like, whoa, Kamala Harris won real big time. And they're going to say, well, it was a cheat. They cheated. They stole the election. This is what we're dealing with. And so that's the problem I think that we're going to have is people tomorrow morning thinking the election was stolen.
We just want
thinking Trump was winning.
We just want folks in the comment section to be very mindful of your words. We're warning you guys, if you're going to debate in a respectful manner. This is not Jack Deere's platform where those things are encouraged and tolerated. Just be respectful, please, guys, because we know some of you are not going to be able to get up early tomorrow morning. Those of you who are supporting a fascist, and some of you in the audience, just maybe one or two supporting a fascist in the United States of America who's running for president, and then at the same breath you dislike that fascist Jack Deere and Irfan Ali in Guyana. You either got to eat roti or bake. You can't make half bake, half roti. I've never seen that. It's either full bake or a full roti. So come on, guys. And I'm sure if we bring you guys here for a debate right now, you cannot say exactly why you're supporting Trump. There's no reason to support Trump. But then again, it's just for me to say, because there's still millions of people out there who are supporting that man. Millions of people. Tom?
Yeah,
what example?
Well, I think a lot of it is, it's white privilege. It really is. Okay. Like in our society and Western culture, white men especially are allowed to make mistakes and still succeed. Where if you take someone who is a man or a woman who is of a dark complexion, if they make one mistake, that's it for the rest of their life. Right. And so a man like Donald Trump, because he's got that privilege, he can be a convicted criminal. He can be a horrible person. He can be a terrible leader. He can make mistake after mistake after mistake. But because he's a white man, he doesn't have to pay the price. He's allowed to succeed and succeed and succeed. And so that's what we're running up against in this world right now, is we have a situation where we're living in the past. We believe that if you put the right skin and the right gender in place as a leader, everything just works magically. But this is a technological world now. This is a world where people are smart, and we're walking around with supercomputers in our hands called smartphones. Okay, people can get to facts. They may not be getting to them lately, but they can and they will. And we can no longer be in a position where we're constantly saying, hey, if you're a white man, it's fine. You can do anything and there is no consequence for it. Can't be that way. And so that's where elections come in. That's where I have faith in the American people, and I have a faith in the American system, is that we do not promote people who suck. We do not promote losers. We do not basically reward people for losing. That's not what we do in America. And so that's why I say, be patient, let this election happen, let whatever happens through the night happen. But in the end, we will see in America what we always see, which is the person who deserves it is going to be the one who wins. And that's what we will see in the end.
And so, right, because we noticed some of these very dark-skinned folks, and this is not knocking anybody, Trump wouldn't even probably have them weeding his yard, so to speak. Again, no insult to people's ethnicity or their skin color, but it's just how Trump is. And Tom, for some folks in the audience, maybe just a few, and you guys know who the few are in the audience. I'm not going to call their names. You know who they are, guys. The definition of white privilege probably flew right over their heads. But if you, and again, I'm not insulting any of our listeners, but y'all know who the one or two folks are in the audience. Trump wouldn't even give them a cutlass to weed a yard. But the white privilege is pretty obvious, because if you had a person of color, African American, a person of color, a woman or whomever, running for such a high seat with even one conviction, they would have never been able to make it past the first round. But imagine, and this is where white privilege steps in, 34 felony convictions, Tom. 34 felony convictions. You tell it to some of them who just probably out of little emotions, Trump a win, Trump a win. But it is emotion. But when you break it down, this one or two, y'all know who the one or two I'm talking about. I won't call a name because Neville is my friend, also known as Civic. And do you know that Jack Dale went after this man, destroyed him, destroyed his family? But I'm glad he's still up and about. And, to tell him, folks like Sital, that Trump is no different than Jack Dale. Jack Dale is a mini version of a Trump. And to see certain individuals saying Trump a barn winner, Trump has been a loser all his life. You guys just a loser. How you think he gets money? He borrows, and it's kind of like a Ponzi scheme. Look at that hotel in Washington, D.C. that they had up just when he got into office. Bankrupt. Every single thing is bankrupt. And so the guys, their bumps raise. Sital is my friend. Neville Sital, known as Civic, is my friend, but his bumps raised tonight. He knows he's my friend, but his bumps raised. Y'all don't worry, Sital, tonight. His bumps raised. Trump a win, Trump a this, Trump a that, Trump a this, Trump a that, right? One track record, one track. Ask him about white privilege. Tell him about white privilege. Only then he will understand. Tom, before we go, let's not lose focus. That is how the distraction comes, right? That is how it comes. Anything you're picking up quickly before we go?
Well, I think the main thing that I think is going to carry, there are two things I think that are going to carry Kamala Harris to victory. Okay, the first one I thought would help her just even get Florida, but you still have to have some organization. We don't have a Democrat Party in this state that actually get out the vote. I know because I tried with my partner. We tried to do some volunteering here in the state of Florida. There was no place to do any volunteering for Kamala Harris in the entire state. Okay, so that's how disorganized Florida is for the Democrats. But I thought her not relying on the fact that she's a woman, and her not relying on the fact that she's a woman of color, like she never made a deal. That was never an issue. She has run a campaign based upon her argument being the best candidate, whether she's a woman or not, whether she's a woman of color or not, it didn't matter. She ran a campaign based on who is the better candidate, regardless of race. And I give her a lot of credit for that, because that's not an easy thing to do from her position, because she's running for something historic. And it's hard not to mention the historic nature of that campaign, but she did it. And she's running on just basically saying, hey, I'm the better candidate. That's the number one thing. And then the number two thing is she really did run a very professional campaign. If you look at how her campaign was run, and you look at the amount of time she had to run it, very disciplined, very professional, on point, working all the way even today when she had the day off waiting for the results. What did she do? She went to a call bank to try to make some calls to get some voters out there to vote. So she proved in this campaign that she is a manager, that she can run a world-class campaign on the world's biggest stage. American politics in the presidential election is no joke. And anyone who can be at the top of the ticket and run the type of campaign she has run, as professional and as basically perfect as it has been, she's passed a huge test in my eyes. And passing that test, along with running a campaign that was not based on her being a woman, her gender, or her race, those two things are what I believe are going to push her over the edge. And that's why I tell everybody, stay up if you can, pay attention, because this thing is going to swing late tonight.
It's certainly going to swing late tonight. By then, Neville and Piri will fall asleep, right? They'll knock out in another half hour because they run out of steam already. Trump win. Trump a bad winner. Neville, good night, my friend. Say hi to your family for me, but they'll knock out in another 5-10 minutes. They'll burn out their energy. Harris wins New York. Trump secures Florida and Louisiana. Before we go, are you surprised? Any surprises there for Louisiana?
No, not at all. You have to, Louisiana is just, that's the place where they have something called Cancer Alley, and it's where the population in this area is mostly African American, mostly people of color, and they have astronomical rates of cancer, the likes of which are seen nowhere else in the world. Okay, so Louisiana is a place that is very racist down to its core, and it's a place that is true Trump land because they go in, and if they have to kill the population with cancer to make $1, they'll do it. They don't give a damn. And so that is a true state for Donald Trump. That's where he belongs. That's where he loves to be. Those are his types of people. They kill their own people there without batting an eye. So I'm not surprised with Louisiana. I'm not surprised with any of these things right now. Like I said, with Florida, I was hoping Florida could do better. But at the end of the day, like I said, I tried to volunteer, and there was no place to volunteer. So because the Democrat Party here is non-existent, they have totally collapsed. They don't have any kind of organization in this state. And so until they can get some organization and get it so that people can actually volunteer to get the vote out, it's going to be hard to win in this state. But with that said, the Democrats are in states like Georgia. They are in states like North Carolina and Pennsylvania and in Arizona and in Michigan and in Wisconsin. And in those states, they are working hard. They're very organized, and they're getting that vote out. So that's why I expect her to do well in those states, because that's what this race is coming down to, is on the ground, who's really doing the hard work. Ignore the polls, ignore the opinions, look at the hard work, look at who's on the ground, look at the money being spent, look at the organization, look at the person at the top and how professional they are being, and look at how the campaign is run overall. If you look at all that, I say, well, the Democrats have a good chance of winning, and winning big tonight.
Winning big tonight thus far: North Dakota, Trump; South Dakota, Trump; Louisiana, Trump; Nebraska, statewide, Trump; Wyoming, Trump. No surprises there at all if you break it down to people who don't understand those states. North Dakota, South Dakota, Louisiana, you just explained.
Trump states, yeah.
Wyoming, especially. Harris just got New York, of course. Mark Robinson, that's the guy out there in gubernatorial candidate, has basically lost. And then let's see what else is happening. So these are the things that we have to look for. A lot of folks don't understand that when they see, some folks who probably sit down a little bit with my friend Neville probably don't understand. North Dakota, South Dakota, you mentioned this, they say, yeah, Trump win, man. Trump a win. North Dakota, South Dakota, Trump a win. And then New York, Trump lost. I don't know. We got to tell them, guys, bring Civic sometime to the U.S. so he understands these states. And when they see Civic, dark-skinned guy, wouldn't even go next to Trump. Trump wouldn't even allow Neville Cital to hold his microphone, if you know what I mean. And again, not knocking the brother. He's entitled to his views, but he's just not coming up with any sound facts, none whatsoever at all. So, Tom, before we go, your closing remarks. We may come back later on tonight, who knows, but your closing remarks, sir.
Oh, well, like I say, This is going to break late tonight. It's going to be an all-nighter for someone like me. I probably will not sleep tonight. I'll be watching all the details. So tomorrow I can come back on and we can recap and I can tell everybody what happened overnight while they were sleeping. But with that said, I really do expect that machine from the Democrats to do well on the ground. And I expect this to be a late one, but it's going to be a great one. So that's what I expect.
A late one is going to be a great one. I know by then a couple of them in the audience will knock out. They're about to knock out right now. Tom, it's always a pleasure to have you on. The folks, they will understand those states that Trump has won. North Dakota, South Dakota, and so forth. Those are expected states that go regardless of who runs for the Republican Party. If Neville Seatal runs for the Republican Party, regardless of his skin color, they will probably take a chance and give him that vote. But white privilege, Neville and others, white privilege is something that you guys probably don't understand. Understand white privilege when a presidential candidate with 34 felony convictions. Just imagine if it was you, Neville Seatal, with even one conviction, you would not have make it through the first round, much less 34 felony convictions. What if Obama had that? One conviction, he would not have made it past. Or even Kamala Harris. So guys like Neville understand what white privilege means. And that is what we are seeing here in the likes of Donald Trump. Tom Anderson, thank you so much for your time, and to all of our listeners, thank you. If there's a need to be back later on tonight, we'll wake Tom up. I know those two other persons in the audience will knock out as soon as the program is over. All right, Tom, thank you so much, sir.
Hey, you're welcome. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, guys. We'll be back hopefully later on. If not, we'll see you tomorrow. We're out of here, and let's go monitor, see what's going on. And those of you who are big and have sense, I know lots of you are big and you have sense. This is not just about wild comments and out of emotions and emotional outbursts and guessing game. It's not a guessing game, guys. It's not about emotions. It's just not. It's just not. You guys know who I'm talking about, right? I'm talking to the same person right there. You point at him. I'm not going to point at him or her. You guys do it. This is not about emotions. This is politics. And if you don't understand the red states, blue states, and the pockets of conservative areas, whether it's in Atlanta or wherever, and you're just hollering out of emotions, you'll tire yourself out. You'll fall asleep in the next 15, 20 minutes. That said, come on, Blue Wave. You can do it. Make the get red eye. Lots of them going to get red eye. I know a couple of them right there in the audience. They're going to cry tomorrow when they wake up. The eyes red. I like Neville Seatal said, me not go walk tomorrow. Neville, let's keep it clean. Let's keep it clean, please, with your comments, please. We're buddies. We're friends. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. You're entitled to your views. Keep it clean. CLEAN, clean. Keep it clean. All right? We're going to see them back. We're going to see them back later. And who laughed last, laughed the best. Come on, Blue. You can do it. Come on. And shame on those who supporting a man with 19 felony charges. I guess that means nothing to a lot of them. I guess it means nothing to those who probably have seen Donald Trump on the mic performing oral sex on a microphone and all these manner of things, disrespecting people of color, disrespecting women, and all these. It matters not to these people. It matters not to these people. I'm disappointed in one or two of them. It makes me wonder. It does make me wonder. But I'm out of here. God bless you all until maybe later on. But God bless. Let's go.
Smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Smallness is still on my mind. singing, ching, ching, ching. In a bar, seafood mama, with 10 fat chickens. And I she for one, and she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy? She fat like a butter, and she muggle like a chow. Oh, smallest is still on my mind.